Well, hi, welcome to A Valid Answer with Scott and usually Marshall, but he's just being a couch potato today. I think he just doesn't want to work, doesn't want to do his job. Marshall, hey, you got to give you our job. You can't just be a couch potato all the time.
Mic check.
No. Yeah, this is A Valid Answer. Pastor and an
live?
atheist. We're live. Pastor and an atheist discussing politics, religion, life, all that kind of stuff without divulging into.
I was having the best dream. Bernie Sanders won the presidency, and we were all getting free stuff for life.
That's called a fantasy.
And I was able to lay on my couch and sleep all day long.
Do you need a Kleenex?
And watch Netflix all day long. You mean it's not true?
No.
I'm going to need a Kleenex.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, hello, everyone.
Yeah.
We're talking
Some people
about
got that.
Couch potatoes today.
We are. Okay, we had a discussion online on Facebook. Actually, today, I think
I made a post. You made a response.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, I can go at it.
I don't think it was a very flattering post. I mean, you chose a picture of a person who,
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I guess we could bring it up on Facebook and show people, but we'll probably post it on A Valid Answer as well. We'll post it on our page. If you're not friends with us on A Valid Answer, if
what's
you
wrong with
the
you?
Page, go on there and like that page. You get our little updates.
Yeah, so A Valid Answer. You can find us here at Kerncast on the Kerncast Facebook, also on the Kerncast website, kerncast.com, but also our own Valid Answer on Facebook. And we even have a podcast. All of our episodes get posted to our podcast. So you can find us searching for A Valid Answer on iTunes, and definitely rate it, right? Thumbs up, give it stars. That way it moves up the top and more people find it, because this is all about us becoming rich and famous. I'm sorry. Whoa, sorry.
Well,
no, this is all.
Don't tell the truth.
This is
Never
all about.
tell the audience the truth.
This is all about getting this discussion out to the public so people can see what it's like to have a reasonable discussion with a person who does not agree with you. And that's our biggest thing.
Yep. Amen.
We had a manifesto that we read a few episodes back, so you can catch that on the podcast.
That's on I think the topic is revolution.
Yes, something like that.
Yep.
I think we've talked a couple of times about revolution.
That was back in May.
Yeah.
All right, so today we're talking about couch potatoes.
Yes, because you posted here, if a person does not want to work, how should society address the problem?
And I laid out 3 proposals.
Yep, for one, we do not want people in a workplace who do not want to be there. So that's not one. Sorry. Cheapest way is what?
The cheapest way to deal with the couch potato is to hand them a bag of chips and a Netflix subscription and let them eat chips and die on the couch. Literally.
Which is what I did with you when you were.
You let me eat chips.
Just gave you chips and put on
almost
Netflix.
Die on the couch.
The second proposal that you have for solving this problem
is actually what I think we should do. I think it's a smart proposal, and that is, I don't think it's natural for a person to be a couch potato. I think if you're a couch potato, there's something going on. There's an underlying issue. It could be depression. It could be chronic illness. It could be pain. Any number of issues that has you stuck on that couch. As a society, I think we need to get in there and find out what that issue is, get you connected with a doctor, and address that underlying issue so that you can be cured and go back to work. And once you go back to work, then you become a net taxpayer, a net contributor to society. And in that case, society profits many times more.
So you want to put people on drugs?
If they need medication, I want to put them on medication.
Okay. And so now here's the funny thing, is that we probably mostly agree that this is actually the better thing to do, which is help the person become a better person. On this solution where we disagree, I think it's pretty obvious through society that human beings by nature are going to be lazy, that it is the exceptional people who rise above. That's why we call it the cream of the crop. The people who rise up, those people are the exception. I believe that most people, without any proper motivation, people will divert to being lazy. That's a natural state for everything that we try to do, is to reduce our labor, reduce our responsibility, reduce these things because we want to be at leisure. I think that is a natural human state, to be at leisure and to not want to work. And then we fight against that. Those of us who are responsible fight more against that and take on responsibilities. And some people, I believe, don't take on those responsibilities, and that's where they end up where they're at. So we agree that the best solution is this second solution of let's help the people. We disagree I disagree on how that help is going to come. And I also disagree on the basic principle of who we are as human beings.
Good. We have a topic for tonight.
Yeah. So then your third one was mostly facetious?
Well, the third one is it's not necessarily facetious because there's a lot of people out there who argue from the premise, if they don't work, they don't eat. Let them starve, let them suffer. I don't care. If they don't want to work and make money for me or for the man or whomever.
Mm-hmm. Or themselves. Make money for themselves.
Well, but the problem with that approach is that leads to widespread poverty, which then breeds crime. And it's a very expensive approach, and it's the approach that I think we've largely taken as a society today. And that's why our prisons are full. That's why we have a lot of crime and a lot of trouble, especially with people who are chronically underemployed or unemployed. That's why there's so much drug abuse in the unemployed, because we're taking an unhealthy approach to the problem. I would rather give them their basic living and leave them on the couch. I don't want these people in the workplace with me if they don't want to be there. If you don't want to work, don't come to work. I don't want to work with you if you don't want to work.
So why reward that behavior?
It's not necessarily rewarding it.
It's absolutely rewarding it.
Maybe so, but it's still cheaper than to ignore it or try to force. It's cheaper than to try to force these people into the workplace.
Not when that is the human nature. See, that's the problem, is that human nature is to be lazy. You make more opportunities to be lazy.
And I disagree with that.
More evidence is against you, man.
I think the evidence is on my side.
Evidence is against you. Exceptional people make things happen, but the average person is not exceptional.
I think if you take a community of people, take any community, just 100 people, and you put them on a desert island, they are not going to just lounge around on the beach until they die. They're going to get off their butt and they're going to start building a civilization. And every time
they're going to build that civilization up to a point to where it can now support them so they don't have to do anything, because they don't want to do anything.
And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with doing that? But there are going to be people, by the way, who even though they don't have to do anything, will still do things. Look at retired people. Everybody I know who's retired, and I'm making a hasty generalization, I should correct that and say many people I know who are retired still pursue hobbies. They still do things on the side. They still do things that are relevant to them. They're not necessarily out in the workforce making money for the man, but they are doing things that they enjoy that I would characterize as a form of work. They're doing labor. They're working in the garden. They're working on a hobby. They're working on a car. They're doing woodworking. They're writing a book. They're designing things. They're doing things that they like to do. And I don't see that as couch potato behavior. I think that's healthy behavior.
Speaking of writing a book.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get into it. But
Marshall's writing a book. I wanted to give him a little plug, but okay, sorry.
We'll talk about it when it gets further along.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help you out here, man. Just trying to,
awesome.
give you a little plug there. Yeah. I see where you're coming with that. I feel that that when you look at society, when you look at people, if there's nothing to do, especially with everything that we have now as entertainment, there's nothing to do. Now I guess you could say that entertainment could be work. I'm not going to mention.
Well, work can be entertaining. I'm entertained right now. We're working. We're working in a way.
Right.
We're not getting paid,
what I was getting at is,
and we're being entertained by our work.
But I'm saying, I don't know if you could consider somebody watching Netflix to be work.
Not necessarily.
Not watching Netflix for hours.
No,
but I'm just saying, someone watching Netflix for hours is not working.
No,
someone
it's not.
playing a video game for hours is not working.
Yeah,
and again, I'm not going to mention any names. I just found this out last week, and I'm not going to mention any names of a teenager that I know, not in my family or anything like that, but a teenager that I know who has an Xbox and that tracks how long you play on a game. And this teenager on a certain game has logged 2 years. This is not how long they've owned the game. This is not how long they've been playing the game. It's literally how long they have been playing online with this game, and it is over. So for this teenager, 2 years of their life, 24 hours a day, if you all totaled it up, there are 2 years of this teenager's life where they have held that controller playing that one game. Not all the games that they have.
Investment with no payoff that I can foresee.
I mean, I understand if somebody's going to be making money as a game tester or something like that.
Sure.
But that is the if we open the door to the ability to, you don't have to work to live, that is where people are going to go. Again, you're like, put 100 people on an island, and what are they going to do? They're not going to lay around till they die. No, because they have to live. Now, if you put them on an island and say,
give them an Xbox.
And you give them an Xbox and a constant plate of food, they're going to sit there and do nothing. So if you reward that behavior, human beings are naturally going to return to that behavior. If there is nothing that I have to do to stay alive, then I'm not going to do anything to stay alive. If I got sufficient entertainment that's being provided to me, I've got food that's being provided to me, I'm at a place where I can comfortably be here. Most people, I believe, most people will I keep saying, I say divulge, but it's not, they will
digress.
Thank you. They will digress to that state. I think that is the natural state of human beings, is to be at leisure. If they don't, if you provide for them and say, look, you don't have to do anything to maintain your life, we'll do that. You will have more and more people come to that point. Digress to a point of leisure if they don't have to. That's why I'm saying it's dangerous. Yeah, it's cheaper right now. Well, there's this many people. Let's just feed them. Yeah, you make that program's going to grow because people are naturally going to lean towards that. If I don't have to work to live, I'm not going to.
Mm-hmm. So you have two options. One is you can starve them to death. Is that what you want to do?
No, starving someone to death is withholding something from them.
Mm-hmm.
We're not withholding anything from them. If that person does not want to work for it and earn it, I'm not taking. I'm not saying, yo, you have this food, I'm taking it from you, and I'm going to starve you. I'm going to imprison you, keep food from coming to you. That's what starving someone is. You're keeping it from coming to them. You are holding them back, and you are putting them in a place where they cannot obtain food. That's not what's going on. I think that's a
we can split a hair here. We can split a hair. Free people starve to death all the time. What I'm trying to get at is you're going to basically deprive people of the basics of living.
No, not deprive them. Again, you're using words that are actionable. You're using words that are that someone is doing something to take from someone else.
Okay.
Those are the wrong kinds of words.
You're going to withhold.
No, withhold is an actionable.
Unless they work, you're going to withhold. You're not going to allow them. You're not going to give them
not
what
allow.
they need. You're not going to sustain them unless they work, correct?
If they work, they earn.
But if they don't work?
They don't earn.
And if they don't earn, do they eat?
That's up to them.
So the answer is no.
The answer is no, but that's their choice.
Okay, so the answer is no.
Right, but that's not my action.
I understand, and I'm not saying it's your action.
But I'm saying you're choosing words. You're choosing words by saying withhold and starve.
All right, I get it.
You're
guilty.
You're using words that point to an evil action of me when they're the person who's making that choice.
Right. But what we've established is you're going to allow them the freedom, I guess, to starve.
Yes.
If they don't work.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
That's individual responsibility, individual freedom. That's what a government should be protecting, is individual freedom.
Now nobody's going to sit there and let themselves starve necessarily. So what you're going to end up actually doing is, rather than starving them, is you're going to actually force them into the
I'm
workforce.
not forcing them.
Well, they're going to choose.
I'm going to call you on these words. I'm not going to let you switch the responsibility away from the guilty party.
That's fine, but they're going to go to work, right?
Yeah, they're probably going to. They're going to go.
Do you want to work with that guy? Do you want to work with that person who really doesn't want to work? They don't have the interest. They don't have the passion. They're just there to punch the clock and.
I believe there are jobs where somebody can come in there and do that, and that's fine. There are menial jobs. That don't require a whole lot of effort or training. Just, you got to show up, you got to do this, meet these requirements. That's fine. I don't care if you have a good attitude or a bad attitude about it. If you're going to have a good attitude about it, you're going to motivate others. I'm going to promote you to be over others. You're going to make more money. You're going to, the better you do, the better place you're going to be. But if you don't want to, then yes, there are menial jobs that you can take.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what you get.
But
that's
would
what
you
want
one of those people to work with you? Would you want to work with those people?
I wouldn't be working a menial job with them because I'm going to be more motivated.
I understand that, but do you want those people working with you? I don't want them working with me.
I don't care.
I would rather they stay home and eat chips.
I would rather they work and earn. See what it is. You are the one actually now making an actionable case that you want to stop this person from working. You don't want this.
I'm not going to give a job to a person who doesn't want to be there.
So now,
so what are we going to tell employers now? You have to hire people who don't want to be there because, well, otherwise they'll starve.
No, you say this. I mean, I don't see quite how you don't get this. If I have a business, I say, here's the requirement: you be here at 8, you leave at 5, you do this many things. Here's this. This person comes in, they do those things. Well, then here's your money. I don't care if you want to be there or not. As long as you meet the requirements of the job, I'm going to pay you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna let you have this round because this isn't a hill that I care to die upon. Personally. Again, it's my personal preference not to work with people who have no motivation, who don't want to be there. But that is what it is. But moving on, we have a difference of opinion on how to address it.
Yes, I believe that there needs to be change in a person, but I don't believe that government policies have the power to change a person.
Okay, well, I'm of the opinion that couch potatoism, if you will, is not a natural behavior necessarily.
Okay.
It may be common. It may be more common in some societies and less common in others. I don't know what causes it. I imagine it's a wide variety of factors. And again, I think we're getting into issues of mental health, physical health, substance abuse. We're getting into economic issues. People don't want to work to still starve. There's all of these things going on. And I think what we need to do is actively address those problems. And I think that's one of the purposes of government. I think government should go ahead and play an active role in addressing those problems, doing things like single-payer health care, mandating living wages, maybe a jobs guarantee. If the government did those things for people, I think we'd get a lot of people off the couch into the workforce.
How's that worked for the past 40 years?
Where they become taxpayers. Well, we haven't done those things for the past 40. No, we haven't. We don't have single-payer. We don't have a jobs guarantee, and we don't have living wages.
So those three things. So what about the other progressive ideas that have happened with all the social?
Well, they become so watered down, they become ineffective and inexpensive. They're
so we haven't done. We haven't.
They're expensive because they're
okay, but hold on.
And they're ineffective because they're watered down.
Hold on, but if we've so watered down, but you still should see a improvement.
No, not necessarily.
So we're gonna do this and expect improvement. But we didn't. Okay, well, the answer is we just didn't do enough. So we're going to go down this road, see no improvement, see actually less improvement, and say, well, then we didn't do enough. Now we're going to do more. Why do more of something that's not working?
Let me answer that. Let's take a look at the minimum wage. When minimum wage was introduced during the Great Depression, it was intended to be a living wage and to provide what Roosevelt said the basics of a decent living. And for a very long time, when those wages did keep pace with inflation, the quality of life and the standard of living for people rose. And people went into the workforce because you could get a blue-collar job, you could end up buying a house and having a nice, decent life on that wage. Beginning in the 70s, in the early 70s, the wage began to get watered down. Basically, we stopped raising minimum wage as inflation increased, purchasing power diminished, and now a minimum wage is essentially a starvation wage. And so you can't blame people for saying, I don't want to go work 40 or even 60 hours a week for a starvation wage and not get ahead. And so they become couch potatoes. So now you have a minimum wage law, which is on the book, which is now inefficient bureaucracy. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help anybody. It's so watered down now that it's just an expensive bureaucratic mess. And now we have to reform it.
So your answer is to create more bureaucracy and your answer is to increase the power of the institution that has been failing.
Well, it's failed because of the conservative movement, which has watered it down. We have to return it to the condition that it was in when it was last working. It's just like a computer. It's like rolling back a computer to its last stable working condition. And now the computer works again.
Yeah, but
Same thing with minimum wage.
Beyond minimum wage, with everything else, we discussed this back when we were talking about, I can't remember, it was one of the episodes back there, but the handouts into the war on poverty, and how has that worked out over the past 40 years when this started in the 70s of this war on poverty and the government's going to step in and do these things. We have seen a decline in the living that the black family in America was on the incline until the war on poverty started going on the decline. that the actions that the progressives said this is what's going to fix it have made things worse for those poor communities.
Because we continue to water down our social programs.
Steve Ratliff has a question here. If you received assistance from the government, why not require able-bodied recipients to work on projects that are needed throughout the city or state, like cleaning parks, mowing lawns, keeping up with projects that do not require a specialized degree? If you want to receive funds, here are these menial jobs that require no specific skills that you can do to accept this income.
I'm not necessarily opposed to sort of a work program in order to get, some sort of aid or what have you. But I really think the greater return on investment would be to get these people the care they need. Find out why are they couch potatoes and address that problem. Is it that the wages are too low? Is it that they have a mental health issue or a physical issue?
I just feel that the government is not the institution.
More profitable work.
I just feel that the government is not the institution that is equipped to make those changes. I believe the church is. I believe that the church has a track record for changing lives because the church can do what the government can't. And that is encourage and promote and cause spiritual change, which changes the heart of the person.
Well, I'm waiting. The church has been around for 2,000 years.
And it's been doing it.
I'm still waiting.
And it has the track record of doing it. When you hear lives change, when you hear the people who say, I was this and I found God and now I'm not that anymore. Are you telling me you've never heard those stories? Do you not know anybody personally? Do you not know anybody personally who said
their lives have been improved by finding faith?
Yes.
Absolutely, and it's even a cliche. I found Jesus, and then they were a bad person making bad choices. They found Jesus and they became a good person and made better choices, and as a result, born again or whatever.
Yep.
They are now a whole new, much better person, and happier, more productive. Absolutely, that does happen.
Compare that track record to the person. Compare that track record to the person who, I went to welfare and I became a better person.
I think that is.
I went to the welfare office and I became a better person.
I think finding Jesus is an ersatz substitute to living wages. You give people living wages, and I think that is going to by far lift the bulk of people out of poverty rather than giving people Jesus, giving people a Bible tract or getting them to herd into church in order to get their benefit. Or I don't know how you propose to accomplish this. I'm not going to downplay the transformative power of faith. I believe it's transformative. I've seen it be transformative.
Can we get a quote of an atheist saying, I am not going to, what did you say, downplay the transformative power of faith. I am going to print that on, I'm going to laser engrave that on a plaque. I'm going to put it right here. It's going to say, I am not going to degrade the power, the transformative power of faith. It's going to say, quote, Marshall Neal, atheist.
But I still think
I'm sorry, I'm being facetious right now. But
I know
that was just awesome.
I still think it is not as powerful and effective for lifting the bulk of people to a better condition as giving people living wages.
And is the goal to lift the bulk of people?
As a society,
the goal the betterment of society?
What do you mean? Is the goal for what? For whom? Whose goal?
Is the goal of society to make a better society?
If society chooses that, yeah. And I think it's kind of inherent. Why would you form a society if you didn't want to lift yourselves up altogether?
But should that be the goal of society? Should the goal of society be to make a better society, or should the goal of society be to make better individuals? Because there's a difference.
Oh boy, we got Confucius here because
there's a difference.
Confucian principle says that you create a better society by creating a better family. It's Confucius, by the way.
Because I'm about to delve into movie territory that you've never seen. But for those of you who have seen a recent movie of the Avengers: Infinity War, it's a great example. The bad guy, which I love, when you have a story where the bad guy has a convincing reason to do what he's doing, he or she is doing, instead of just like, well, this is the bad guy and they're supposed to do bad things. It's so much more compelling. And not to go into any spoiler territory, but the bad guy, basically his motivation is there is a limited set of resources in the universe, and too many people are consuming it, and everybody's suffering. So for the better in the universe,
the world,
basically the word in the universe, yeah. So, but anyway, the idea is his plan is if we can eliminate half the people of the universe, the other half will be better off. Mm. So it's the ultimate aim is I don't care about individual freedom or individuals. Society, having a successful, thriving society is the goal. And if that's your goal, you can justify so many atrocities. If that's your goal. If the goal is society should be there for the benefit of society, then there is an enormous amount of atrocities that can be committed and justified by that view. But if society is there to be committed to the individual freedom of the people of society, then that keeps atrocities from happening.
I think you can go too far in the opposite direction. And I think, individuals can then, commit atrocities. And
then you punish them. Yeah.
I feel as always the balance is somewhere in between. It's sort of like which is more important, the trees or the forest? Mm-hmm. And it's really kind of impossible to...
Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Sorry.
Well, the answer is the egg, but evolution's how it works. But I really think you have to be intelligent, and you have to say, there's a time when society is more important than the individual. For example, when a society is in danger and there's a war on, if you will, mm-hmm. the individual is sacrificed to preserve the society. Mm-hmm. But then when you are at peace, you probably want to move that slider over towards the individual because that's how you get excellence. That's how you get Steve Jobs and, Bill Gates and all of these people who have made a massive impact on our society, who've literally changed our society. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes for the better. Well, I know we criticize them because they've hoarded up all of this wealth, Jeff Bezos and so on.
Yeah.
They've probably gone too far.
I don't criticize them, but you do.
I do. I think they've gone a little too far. However, there are times when you want to favor the individual and there are times when you want to favor the society. And that's why I like our system of government and our Constitution, because it does say that society matters, but it also says there are frank exceptions, which are laid out in the Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
And that's where the individual will always triumph over society. And things like freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, the right to a fair trial, and all of those,
as they should,
and so on. On the other hand,
however, my gosh, we're finding ourselves agreeing.
Right, people have to pay taxes, and they have to, contribute. They have to serve on juries, and they have to sometimes go to war.
Have you served on a jury before? I've never actually served on a jury. I've been to jury services multiple times. I have been in a courtroom twice in my life and never even made it to the chair to get picked. So
yeah, my problem with the jury system is that your fate is always decided by 12 people who are too dumb to get out of jury duty.
Too dumb to get out of jury duty, exactly.
So, I
do my best to not be that person. I do my best to it's not like, okay, I'm going to get up there and say the answers that are going to get me taken off. I just got to be honest, but I've never actually made it to there. So I've just jinxed myself, haven't I? I'm probably going to get jury duty in the next couple of weeks.
I think when I'm when I'm a senior citizen, I'll actually get to do it, and it will be very interesting.
Can I volunteer? I want to volunteer for every case.
Education, and we'll see how that goes. But
so we've kind of taken a little left turn here. But one of the things we talked about, because you were talking about the solutions being medical in
if a person has a medical issue, they need medical
care. And I absolutely agree that there are medical conditions. But I was commenting how sometimes what we think is a medical condition is a spiritual condition, and sometimes something you can be depressed, but because there are Christians who are depressed, and I know Christians who do have to take medication because there is a chemical imbalance, and I know that's a real thing. Just my sister and my cousin both have to take medication because there's a chemical imbalance that if they don't take the medication they'll have seizures.
And I'm glad they have that.
And I'm glad they have that too. So so I know that there are medical cases for that, but I think a lot of times it is a spiritual, it is something with the soul that when you do experience Christ in a soul salvation way, there are things in you that change. This is something that I have seen. This is this is my job. This is my work. This is the career that I have chosen for the past 20 some odd years. And this is what I see every single week. Literally, I was in a room this weekend with 7 or 8 individuals. We were doing a class, and I just said, hey, tell me about how you came to church here. And one after another, they're just telling the story of where they were. And one person who just came in and angry and this and that, and they came in, and it was all different. For one person, it was when they came in, it was the song that was being sung. For another person, it was the thing that was said at the very end of the message. For another person, literally, it was them looking up and seeing the church sign and seeing like, that's where I need to be. There is so much life change that happens on a spiritual level that if you just say, what's your medical problem? And here, let's give you medication to take care of this. You're not solving the real issue of the person and their heart and the things that are troubling their heart. If you there's counseling things and things that change in your heart when Jesus is there. There just is. And that is the experience I have. And I know that you're having a really tough time with me saying this, because you're like, well, that's your experience. Yeah, that's my experience and the experience of all the people around me and the experience of hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of people that I've seen come through the churches that I have worked at and their lives being changed. And also at the same time where people slip back because there was a chemical imbalance and they didn't follow that up. And I see both sides, but I'm saying the side that you don't see because you're not part of it. You're not in there. And you're not seeing it.
But I'm not denying it.
Okay.
I'm not denying any of this. I understand that when people go to church, it changes who they are, and it probably makes a physiological change. In other words, new pathways are connected in the brain that are stimulated by religious participation and activity. Now, I'm sure we see this in Islam. I'm sure we see this in Hinduism. I'm sure we see it in Buddhism.
And again, I'm going to go back to the things that I always say, bring them in here. I'm sitting here. I am the person in front of you. And it's easy to say, well, I'm sure there's these people. Okay, bring them in. Let's talk.
Unfortunately, being where we live, I don't know too many people. I do have a lot of friends who are Muslim, in particular, online.
Okay.
Because I'm part of religious discussion groups.
Please join the discussion. If you're watching him, let's talk about this. Let's bring this in.
Does being Muslim change your outlook on life in the world? Does your belief in Allah, in Muhammad, motivate you?
Does your belief claim to make a change in you?
And
is that an actual claim that is being made?
And I'm sure the answer is going to universally be a yes. And I'm sure I can find people who I can try to get them to comment on this, and they're all universally going to say yes, and they'll be from different religions.
Cool.
So
the yes, I would like to see the verses from their texts.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm sure they'll produce that as well. So
you tripped on something that I said earlier, and I'm going to give you the opportunity if you want to address this, because when we were talking in our before our pre-show, after our pre-show, before our pre-show, whatever it was, when we were talking, this was offline. We're talking about medical things, and sometimes, and I made the comment of, sometimes there's a chemical imbalance, and there's a person who is schizophrenic because of chemical imbalance. Sometimes there's a mental chemical. Sometimes there's an imbalance in the person because they have a demon inside of them. And yes, so
I'm glad I wasn't eating chips at that moment.
No, they were all over your shirt at the time, but anyway.
Well,
Yeah, and you said that, and I had to offer this, and that is, yes, I have, as a pastor, in a certain situation, I have prayed over a person and cast out demons from them, and saw a physical change, not an emotional change, but literally a physical change in them in that instance.
Where's that person now?
That person, gosh, it was 12 years ago. 12?
Gosh, I could have used you then.
Yeah.
12 years ago.
Yeah, so it was 11 or 12 years ago. It was a person at the church. I was, at the time, the pastor on call, which basically there's always a pastor at the church who had a phone. So if there was an emergency during church office hours, it would say, call this number. So I had that number, and someone, a family that goes to our church, had taken in this person. So I didn't know who the person was, but had taken in this person, and they said, hey, something is going crazy. Something's not. Can you come over here and see? We don't want to just we don't want to call the police simply because we think that the person is acting weird, but we think that maybe there might be something spiritual. So myself and one of the deacons, actually I happened to be at his house, we went over and started talking, and just started praying with the person. And as we started invoking Christ's name and praying, this person just started going nuts, went into the bathroom, was shouting, grabbed the toilet, almost ripped the toilet off the floor. Like literally the toilet was shaking back and forth off the floor, ran out of the house. We followed him. He's running around the neighborhood screaming.
This doesn't sound safe, Scott.
I know.
Or smart.
Yeah. And so then when he came back, we were able to talk. We were out in the street and we were able to start talking with him, and literally just asked the person was just, he would try to talk to us, and then just something, he'd try to talk to us, and then his eyes would change, his voice would change, and then we'd start praying, and finally he said, do you want this out of you? Do you want Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior? Do you want this out of you? And the person said yes. So we just started praying, and the person literally and we were outside, so the person's grabbing as a stop sign or some kind of pole sign, and as we're praying, this is all happening, and this person literally just collapsed, like physically just collapsed, and then was looking around like, what just happened? And it was an actual praying over. This is the experience I had. So you're like, so Scott, you've performed an exorcism. Mm-hmm. It's not what we call it. I know that's kind of more of a.
It's a Catholic.
It's a Catholic,
thing, yeah.
But essentially, yeah, I guess that's what you would have to call it. So I'm not afraid to share that with you, even though I know that it quite possibly could lower your opinion of me in your eyes.
Absolutely not.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely not. I've got friends and stuff who say they've seen ghosts, they've seen UFOs, and so on. I've got friends who believe in Bigfoot. I've got friends who believe in the Loch Ness Monster. I've got friends who believe in God. And, that doesn't lower my opinion of these. Yes, you get it. You caught the joke. But that's true. It doesn't necessarily lower my opinion. You had an experience.
Yeah.
Whether or not that experience was a spiritual one is where we're going to disagree.
Okay.
Again, I think there's something going on when you go to church and you get involved. When a person has, some sort of mental disturbance, and you pray over them and whatever, things happen. When people chant, or when they sing hymns, or when they pray, when they speak in tongues, something is going on. I just am of the opinion this is all physiological. It all has a biological, physical, chemical explanation.
Okay.
And that there's not necessarily any evidence of some spiritual power
but you
being
would agree
involved.
But you would agree that there's some evidence of a life being changed.
Arguably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
so. My question to you,
Mm-hmm.
to you, this is going to be the uncomfortable question. If you see that it works, why don't you join us?
Because I don't accept the premise.
But you have said before that you're willing to get behind things that have shown evidence of being successful. Why would you not get behind this?
Sure, because...
Why would you not be part of it?
Because I would be dishonest. It would not be intellectually honest of me, because I would be participating in something purely for the perceived benefits of it without buying into the premise.
Why would you not
of
be
what I'm
curious
doing.
to discover it? If you see that it is working, why would you not be curious to discover why it works?
Because I think I know why it works, at least well enough to satisfy me.
But you can't duplicate it in any other process.
What do you mean?
Well, you know that this, whatever this spiritual process is that's happening, that's causing these chemical reactions, or was it physiological changes? What other process exists that causes these physiological changes?
Well, first of all, other religions. And then, of course, various forms of counseling or combination of counseling, therapy, medication. There are other ways to bring people back to the fold, to get them off the couch, talking about couch potatoes here, and to get them to become productive members of society. Entering into a relationship, meeting the right person, meeting the one, can totally
don't even
change
get me
people.
started on the one.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, that's not even a thing.
Well, but the thing
that's a thing that we've told millennials, that we've lied to them about, and that's a whole thing we should have talked about last week.
People meet other people, and the people they meet change them, and people join religions because they meet people, and they become better people as a result.
I invite you to be part of it. I invite you to be part of it and discover how this transformation is happening, since you can see that it does work. I invite you to be part of it.
Do you believe that I need some sort of intervention?
Absolutely.
Why?
That's why I'm in your life.
Why do you think that?
Because I don't believe that because of your actions, because you're a good, decent person. But I know that good, decent people, being good and decent, is not what saves your soul. So I will continue to be in your life, hoping and trying to be this intervention so that you can find Christ in your soul.
But I don't have a soul, Scott.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep being here and trying to do this intervention with you so that I can show you what you're missing, because I love you.
Well, I love you too, man.
And I know that. We're gonna start crying right now. This has ended quite differently than other ones in the past, but I'm glad we got here. I don't want to. I know we're getting close on our time. I don't want to. If there's any, I feel I've said everything that I wanted to say about this topic, but I don't want to cut you off if there's things that you want to say about this. But I want to leave you with the last word.
Well, again, I don't want to. I mean, I don't understand how I could be saved if I don't believe in God.
Okay.
Because God would see right through my participation. If anything, I would think God would be offended because I'm faking it to fit in or to claim some sort of spiritual or mental health benefit or some other type of benefit. And I think the best thing, even if God is real, the most important thing for me to do would be to be intellectually honest, because if God is real and I do have to answer for my behavior, I'm going to have to explain to God, hey, I don't know why I'd have to explain, really, because he should understand, right? But say, hey, look, you equipped me with the tools of reason and critical thinking. You made me inclined towards skepticism by one way or another. And following that natural inclination, I asked a lot of questions. And, we're going to kind of talk about this when we get to our origin stories, which is an upcoming topic.
Next week, we're going to be talking about basically how did I become a Christian? How did you become an atheist? Yeah. So, we're going to be hitting this.
I want to finish what I'm saying.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say, God, you made me an atheist. So, I mean,
God, you made me this way.
Right. So, how can I be blamed then for following a nature that I was assigned?
Okay. I said I would give you the last word. We'll answer that at another time. I'm not gonna bring this stuff.
Fair enough.
But again, hey, join us next week. Next week we're excited about this. We're gonna talk about our origin stories. I keep coming back to movie references and stuff like that. This is my origin story. But I think it's I want to just kind of, again, as we would say in Christianese, as we would say in the Christian world, I would like an opportunity to give my testimony. I would like an opportunity for you to give your testimony of who you are, why we are, and
how
stuff
I came
like that.
to believe in nothing.
Yeah. and so, we would want to invite you guys to come back 5:00 next week, kerncast.com. Follow us here on Facebook. Search for Kerncast. Also, you can follow us on our podcast, A Valid Answer, on our podcast. But we really want you guys to participate, like Steve Ratliff was participating today. We'd love for you guys to participate in our discussions, and we hope that you'll be joining us next week, 5:00, kerncast.com, A Valid Answer. See you guys.
Thank you.